Welcome back, folks. Time to do another video. This time we are here for trenches. Now for this one you want to start off in the best place possible. I like to keep a little offcuts box just under my desk when I need things like this that need oddly sized pieces can be used for fairly easily. First, just rake through that box, pick out any bits you like, generally the longer, straighter ones, and any thinner, longer offcuts work really well for this, and any other bits that you think don't have much of a use or a purpose anywhere else, just throw them into the pile of bits that can be converted into trenches. And as the stages go on, you will find the bits and pieces you need to do this. And once you get that out of the way, that's part 1 done. On to part 2. So, part 2, once you get all your nice bits all sorted out and all together in one place, organise them as best you can into strips that are anywhere near 1.5 inches wide at the base. They're great for the bottom layer, 1.5 to 2 inches for the base layer and ground level of the trenches. That's the width you want them to be. Set them at one side. Anything thinner than that, set it to the other side. You could use it at later stages. And for different heights in the sections of the trench, when you build up the height of the back wall. The next thing you want to do is get measuring, get the ruler out. Roughly I make most of the straight length sections of trench that I build 6 inches long. This is just the basic on how to build the straight sections. You can also build corners, bunkers and placements, entrances, exits, slopes. As long as you follow this pattern, it works out well. And then once you get all your cutting and measuring done, just get to stage 3. Get the gluing out. This time I'm using PVA. If you're doing a big batch, I would suggest don't use PVA. I would say if you're doing a big batch at one time, definitely use the hot glue gun for this. Just make sure the temperatures aren't too hot so you don't melt any foam. And then once you get that done, it's time to start cutting up and mixing and matching the pieces you need to make to create your trench. For that, you want to glue these together 4 high to come at your final height, and then decrease the width of each strip as you go up, make them thinner and thinner and thinner as you get to the top. The important thing to remember is you line up one side where all the edges line up flush and you end up with a flat face on the back, and the front ends up with a stepped, sloped approach all the way up to the top. And then once you get all these bits finished, you can set your glue aside to dry if you're using your PVA and have some gluing time, and then you can move on to the next stage. So, part 4, next stage. Once all your glue is dry, I suggest, before you go any further, as you watch this footage, you put a fresh blade on whatever you're using to cut at this point, because the fresher the blade, the better in this circumstance. And all you want to do for this one is you simply take that blade and you want to smooth out the stepped texture and look on the front of the piece. You can do this however you like. You can carve big chunks out of it, you can carve neat little lines, you can melt little shell holes into the front if you wish with a little with a little bit of heat from a heat gun or a screwdriver or any other method that you want to use to rough them up. You can use textured up texture balls or stones, anything you like, whatever your chosen preference is. Now's the time to do it. Rough it up, make a mess, rub things down, and then remove any loose bits of dust and any other little wrinkles here and there you wish to get rid of. And then that is the basic prep all done. Time to jump across to the painting table again, and time to slap on a nice base coat. As with most of the things I do that see a lot of use here, I like to base coat them with my textured house paint mix. This is just grey house paint that has a little bit of texture mixed in. I use fine sand mixed into a plain pot of house paint. It's cheap, it's easy to get, and it works great. Seals them nice. Get all sides, front, back, top, bottom, everywhere you want it to be. Fully encase it in this stuff. and then once that's dried, you can move on to the next stage. So here we go, part 6. Time to get the base colour down on these, and it is just going to be dark brown all over. Nice, easy, cheap craft paint, water it down just a little bit, get the spread nice on it, and then just cover the entire piece. Again, I do suggest making these in batches. It's far easier to make large numbers at once than it is to make 1 or 2 individual trench sections here and there. It's a great project to do over a weekend. I've made the majority of the trench pieces I have in 2 settings, and beyond those 2 settings I've very rarely needed to add any extras to the collection of trenches I have. And then that's the simple part. Base coat's done. Once the base coating is done, we'll move on to the next stage in painting. Here we go, next stage of your painting. Time to add some depth and detail to the trenches that you're doing. And for that, all you want to do is just want to take a dry brush, pick 3-4 different colours on top of the dark brown or light brown that you've chosen to use. Just a bit of khaki, some light browns, blacks, and then just dry brush various bits of the piece to bring out some details, to highlight, to bring some depth, just in case any of these areas do get left bare when you're flocking in the later stages, so they don't just look like plain, boring, brown painted terrain. Right, part 8, here we go, flying through it now. And this stage is simple, it's the flocking. For this, all you want to do is just use some PVA, take whichever flock you so wish and desire. In this case, it is a dark green base over a lot of the models. You want to leave some areas of soil showing through, depending on how war-torn and damaged you want your trench sections to look. In this case, I'm not that particular about leaving too much of the base layer showing through, so then it is just a dark green, and then on top of that, just to highlight it and show a little bit of differentiation of different types of grasses. This is a lighter green autumn mix of flocking for autumn grass and colour to use. And then once that's done, just knock off any excess and then set it aside to dry and set off hard off to one side. And now, part 9, once it's all dried off, we're starting to do some of the detailing on the trench to finish it off. So you want some corrugated cardboard or paper. For this, I bought a big pack of A3 sheets, and I've been using it for months and months now for many different projects. It's great stuff. I suggest anybody find some, pick it up where you can. All you need to do next is you just want to measure and cut your corrugated paper into the length you need them to be. Generally, again, if you're batch cutting these, the majority of them will be the same size and shape roughly, so you can cut a great many of them at once. And then when you get to the gluing part of it, you can throw them on in a hurry with all the great many pieces together and batch make trench after trench after trench once you glue everything together, and it'll look great. Once you're finished with the corrugated tin look with the addition of the paper, next thing you'll need is to make the wooden posts appear accurate for holding the tin and to help support the edge of the trench. So for that you want to use matchsticks, and when you take the matchsticks, I suggest just putting them up against the top, snipping them off at the height you need, and then gluing them in place just wherever you want them to make them look haphazard. I add 3 or 4 to each length of trench just to make it look like a uniform length of sheet that's been used and a uniform number of posts per length. You can add however many you want. You don't also need to make the tin go all in the same direction in all of one piece. You can cut it into sections where some of it's facing a different direction, where it looks like it's been patched or repaired. It's up to you. So long as your creative will and wonderment keep going, then the entire project will look great. So, part 10. Now you've got all your detailing done and glued on and in one place. Time to give it a little bit of a coat, just to seal it in. This is Mod Podge I'm using this time for this, It's got a little bit of black paint mixed in fact, might have a little bit of grey paint mixed in fact. And just cover them all, matchsticks, paper, the whole thing. You will seal it in, you'll give it an extra coat to stop anything falling apart, and you'll give that cardboard just that little bit more protection on the table for end use and with the paint you're about to add later. Just keep it on, slap it on, get the whole thing covered, and then once that's done, that's you. Set it aside to dry, and you're almost done. So part 11, here we are in the home stretch. Just the finishing pieces to cover up the rest of it. I've taken a little bit of green paint here, just to mix in and match in nice and well with the rest of the trench sections I've already made in the past. So you want to cover all the bits that will be the wriggly tin with some green paint here in this case. Cover all them, hit them with that. This is just again a bottle of, I think it's Poundland's finest green paint. And hit all the green with that, and then once you've finished all of the corrugated paper that's going to be your wriggly tin, pick out the wooden stakes here and there with any brown you like. I think I use a dark brown in this case. Again, much the same, craft store's finest craft paints. To get the details you wish, you can give them a little bit of a dry brush and a detail as posts. You can add a little bit of depth and life to your wriggly tin if you take a sponge and any kind of colour or different kind of paint you like, a dark brown or a slight orange or a rusty auburn kind of colour, and sponge on a little bit of detail to show a little bit of rust and splatter here. You can dry brush the bottom half section of the trench with a nice muddier lighter brown mix and sand to show some colour change, the sort of use and wear of the piece. And then once that's done, you have your entire finished piece. You can give it a coat of sealant if you like, anything you like, watered down PVA with a little bit of varnish mixed in, or spray varnish out of a tin at this point. You won't affect any of the foam or anything else at this point. It's that covered with paint and other pieces that you'll be safe and good to go. And with that, you can build together all your trench sections you like. And up next are a few glamour shots of some of the trench sections on a table. And as you enjoy the glamour shots, as always, thanks for coming in this one, folks. I'll see you in the next one. And before you go, if you can do all that fun stuff that YouTube enjoys us all doing and makes us all feel better about making content, feel free. If you don't, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I'll see you in the next one, folks.